Media at McGill is a hub of research, scholarship, and public outreach on issues and controversies in media, technology, and culture. Visit us online at media.mcgill.ca.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this public lecture by Tariq Ali. My name is Mark Raboy, and I'm the Beaverbrook Chair in Ethics, Media, and Communications at McGill University, as well as the Academic Chair of Media at McGill, the university's focal point for research, scholarship, and public outreach on issues and controversies in media, technology, and culture. This program of activity, which you can read about on the World Wide Web at media.mcgill.ca, is made possible by the ongoing support of the Beaverbrook Canadian Foundation. Before turning to the main event, I would like to call on Mr. Vincent Prager, trustee of the foundation, to say a few words.
Thank you, Mark. The Beaverbrook Canadian Foundation is thrilled that an idea which germinated a few blocks from here several years ago to set up a Center of Media Ethics and Communications at McGill developed into Media McGill, and after a few other events has now resulted in all of you being here tonight to hear Tariq Ali. The idea that we had was to donate funds to McGill to set up a center which dealt with media matters in the name of Lord Beaverbrook, who was the first of the Canadian media barons in England, a member of the Churchill War Cabinet. And we wanted to find something that was sexy and something that would wake people up to issues that affect the world. And I think we're going to see how our ideas have germinated with Tariq Ali being here tonight. And I thank McGill for having organized this, and I look forward to an interesting evening. Thank you.
Tonight's event is additionally supported by the McGill Dean of Arts Development Fund and was facilitated by the Humanities Research Group at the University of Windsor, which was critical in bringing Tariq Ali to Canada at this time. We're here tonight to look at and think about the role of the media, big media, in global politics. It is difficult to rise above platitudes when talking about the media and their place in the great events of our time. The media are central to the politics of the world we live in today. They are the lead institutions of soft power. Everyone is touched by what these institutions do and do not do. The media should be a space where political alternatives can be debated, so that people can then make sound choices and issues can be democratically resolved. As we shall see, an array of forces often get in the way and inhibit them from playing that role. We are absolutely delighted that tonight's speaker, Tariq Ali, accepted our invitation to turn his formidable critical talents to analyzing the role of the global media in the New World Order. Tariq Ali is a novelist, historian, filmmaker, and political campaigner. He was born in Lahore, now Pakistan, in 1943 when it was still part of British-ruled India, and he was a revolutionary political activist for much of his youth. He came to global prominence as a student leader and anti-war activist in the 1960s, and he remains at the forefront of anti-war movements while devoting himself to writing books, both fiction and nonfiction, newspaper articles, and commentary on social and political issues. Tariq Ali is a member of the editorial committee of the New Left Review and regularly contributes to such periodicals as The Guardian, Counterpunch, and the London Review of Books. He is the author of Pirates of the Caribbean, Bush in Babylon, and my own favorite, The Clash of Fundamentalisms. He is a true public intellectual, and he specializes in exposing political hypocrisy masquerading as high-mindedness. I should add that it was not difficult to lure him to Montreal and to McGill, which he remembers fondly from a previous visit some 30 years ago. Has he mellowed? We shall see. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tariq Ali.
Well, I was, as Mark has said, very pleased to receive this invitation from McGill and the media department, because I hadn't been to this city for a long, long time. I come to Canada quite regularly, but I haven't been here. And I'm even more pleased that the foundation, which has given funds to the department and helped them to get a new room and a set of rooms, is the Beaverbrook Foundation. Because had it been the Conrad Black Foundation, there might have been a few ethical problems. Anyway, it's good to be here. And the subject of this evening's talk is the interrelationship between the media as it is today and global politics, and how the two pan out. Now, there are 2 points worth making before I get to the heart of this issue. One is that a big change has taken place over the last 40 years. Slightly longer, but it's been seen as a big change over the last 40 years, and which is that the dominance of the print media, which existed for the 19th century and a large chunk of the 20th century, when the written word was crucially important for the development of the human personality, for the development of ideas, has been replaced by the image. So many, many more people get the news from television than from any other medium. The actual number of people reading newspapers has been reduced drastically. And though the emergence of the internet and the web has somehow begun to reverse the process again, nonetheless, I think it would be fair to say that the majority of the people who live in our globe get the news from television networks. And what is interesting, the combined and uneven development which takes place in the world, that in those parts of the world where substantial sections of the population still cannot read, they seem to have jumped over the print media completely. Because they can't read, they don't read newspapers and never could, and they watch the news from take the news from television. And that, I think, is a very big change, which has affected all our lives in different ways. It doesn't mean that the print media will die out any more than the emergence of videos meant the death of cinema. And it doesn't mean that people have stopped reading, because they continue to read. But they have to be more selective in what they read, because the choices are varied in terms of what they can read, but the content of what they can read is not as varied as they used to be. And that's the first point I wish to make today. That if you look back, some of you with gray hair, if you look back to what the diversity in the Western media, in most of the Western world, used to be 30 years ago, you'll see that there were differences, that there was much more space in the print media for divergent views, for views which challenged governments, which challenged dominant ideas, than there ever are now. And one crucial reason for this, in my opinion, was the fact that you had, during the Cold War, the perceived enemy of the West was communism, and one of the characteristics of the system that called itself by that name was the total domination of one party. They were one-party states, and one-party states meant one dominant newspaper and one dominant state television network, and that's what gave the news